Hey everybody, this is the Esoteric Cross. My name is Will and I make videos about how to gain your personal power while learning ancient secrets. If that sounds like something that you're into, please hit the like button and subscribe and gain insight from this perspective in the cosmos. We're going to be getting into a controversial topic today, which is centering around the idea of a 13th Zodiac sign. In the world of the occult, we talk a lot about the Wheel of the Zodiac, which holds these 12 zodiac signs, their impact on our lives, and also how to work with them, especially within ceremonial magic. I see so many comments asking about the 13th zodiac sign, and also implications that I'm being dismissive of the 13th zodiac sign. In order to really understand why this is not included within most systems of ceremonial magic, you really need to understand the truth of what all of this is about. So here we are, let's dive into the topic of the controversial and mysterious 13th zodiac sign, Ophiuchus. In a previous video, I got into the history and the origins of the zodiac. You can click the top right corner of the screen to watch that video if you'd like, but here's a brief summary. We believe that the zodiac originates in ancient Mesopotamia, and they actually used 12 zodiac signs. These fit with their 12-month calendar year. I want to be very clear that the Babylonians were aware of this additional sign, but they did not use it as a 13th zodiac sign. It simply boils down to not fitting within the system. This system is very important, and it's influenced the way that we deal with time and astrological magic to this day. 12 has become a very important number, and we see it absolutely everywhere, like 12 inches in a foot, 12 hours on the clock, 12 disciples, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 makes a dozen, and many things come in dozens. 12 grades in the school system, 12 steps program, 12 months in the year. And don't worry, we'll get into the topic of a 13-month year, 12 gods of Olympus, and there are usually 12 members of a jury for a criminal trial. 12 is very symbolic as it represents something extremely important when it comes to the Wheel of the Zodiac, which is reflected in all of these other places. 12 is also necessary because of the mathematics. We're not going to be able to use this system in the same way if we were to split it into 13 instead. The Wheel of the Zodiac is split into 4 parts, giving us the 4 seasons. This does not work seamlessly with 13. The 4 parts gives us the solstices, the equinoxes, and we also see 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, setting the corners and the foundations of these 4 seasons, which also falls apart if we were to change this to a 13 sign system. These 4 fixed signs are very important to the occult. You see them in the Bible represented by the 4 Gospels, the 4 creatures of Ezekiel's vision, and we can also see these 4 creatures on the Wheel of Fortune card in Tarot and also the World card. We can see this tetramorph in a whole lot of places. In the middle of these signs, we can also see important occult holidays like Halloween, for example. This is all showing us the macrocosmic energies while you are the microcosm. This is all an allegory for consciousness. It makes no difference where the actual zodiac signs are physically. This is a system to explain esoteric meanings to you. It's not literal. These zodiac signs are not even technically in the same places anymore because of the precession of the equinoxes. And also some zodiac signs are larger and some are smaller. For example, within Virgo, the sun spends about 45 days here, when it takes about 7 days to pass through Scorpio. But we are still dividing the sky into 12 equal parts. Why is that? This is because it's symbolic. This is about dividing time, which is why we have the 12 months and also the 12 hours on a clock. These zodiac seasons last about 30 days, giving us about a month per sign. Now, I want to be very clear that just because a 13th sign would completely disrupt this entire system, which has been charged with so much energy for thousands of years, this doesn't mean that the esoteric meanings of the 13th zodiac sign doesn't matter or is unimportant. We just don't necessarily count it as an official piece of the zodiac. The deeper esoteric underpinning of what the sun represents is conscious energy. The moon represents subconscious energy. The sun, consciousness, is the only thing here that produces light of its own. The moon and the planets just reflect that light. Consciousness shines its energy out, and the subconscious takes in this light and reflects it. The planets, aka aspects of the personality, also reflect this light in various ways, but the sun remains the same. All of this reflection is seen and experienced by Earth, the physical body. the results in the manifestations. The geocentric model of the universe with Earth at the center is used as an allegory for the human psyche, not saying that Earth is at the center of the universe or the solar system, with the planets representing the layers of consciousness and the zodiac representing the cycles and the archetypal energies. These are the clothes that the sun wears throughout different parts of the year. These are masks or faces of the bare and raw conscious life-giving energy. The number 12 is significant due to its divisibility into 4 equal parts representing the 4 seasons, elements, and directions. This model is used in ceremonial magic to guide initiates in their journey or self-discovery and transformation, starting with the 4 elements and progressing to planetary and then zodiacal work. I know that there's been a lot of talk about a 13-month year, and I've seen so many comments saying that 1 month was taken out of the calendar year. Now 13 does align better with the lunar cycle because there are about 13 lunar cycles per year. A 13-month year is a lunar year. A 12-month year is a solar year. Based on the esoteric allegory that we just discussed, a solar year is focusing on the conscious energy and the light. A lunar year is focusing on the subconscious energy and what is hidden. Neither one is better than the other. They just track 2 different astrological bodies. The whole reason that we changed to a 12-month year is because there was a need at the time to align with the sun. It was a lot easier to keep up with time. It was very practical. Again, this comes back down to mathematics and the number 12 and how 12 can be broken down. But to say that we changed from a 13-month year to a 12-month year would not necessarily be correct. There are many cultures that used 13-month calendars, so this honestly would be depending on what culture you're focusing on. With all of this technical stuff out the way, let's focus on the constellation itself. Like I said, this constellation does matter, just like all the other constellations have significance. The placement is between Scorpio and Sagittarius, and the sun passes through a segment of the sign around the end of November through mid-December. It's along the zodiacal ecliptic, but of course, it's not truly recognized as an astrological zodiac sign. Astrology has focused on the division of the ecliptic in a way to align with the solstices, the equinoxes, and not necessarily to the physical constellation placements. This constellation called Ophiuchus, which means serpent bearer, is showing a man holding a snake. In ancient Greece, this was actually perceived as Apollo within a struggle with a snake. The snake can be a symbol for a lot of things and commonly is associated with something called the reptilian brain, which is the oldest and lowest part of the brain. This governs things like survival. A struggle with a snake could be representing a struggle with the survival aspects of consciousness, our basic functions, our impulses, and our temptations. Does this sound familiar? We could relate this to the Garden of Eden. I'll also link my recent video on the Garden of Eden. You can click the top right corner to check that out too. This is a sign that happens very close to the winter solstice. All of this is explained by the point of view from the northern hemisphere, by the way, where these ideas originated. But getting closer to the winter solstice, the sun appears to move farther south. We are expecting our longest nights, and at this point there is decreased light, and darkness overpowers light. This could be the struggle with a snake, as consciousness has descended to its lower points to overcome the darkness. This takes us into one of the biggest meanings of the sign of Ophiuchus, which is transformation. Even though for practical purposes we do not count this as a zodiac sign, we could still view this constellation as a part of the story in the journey of the sun or consciousness going throughout the cycle. So we could even see this as a continuation of Scorpio, which is the sign associated with mystery, darkness, and of course as the fixed sign of autumn. It represents the descent into the darkness. It's the decreasing of light and the dying off of the sun. The struggle in the darkness with Ophiuchus would make a lot of sense coming next, and then followed by Sagittarius, which will be the integration of the higher consciousness with the animalistic consciousness. Another way that we could really view this constellation is for it to be the hidden sign, the secret sign, and also a key piece of information while still utilizing the 12-sign system. Ophiuchus is associated with hidden knowledge. The serpent is often associated with knowledge, again going back to the Garden of Eden story. This represents an awakening that takes us out of our Garden of Eden With each awakening, we must face certain aspects of ourselves and our lives, which is the first step of integration. Obviously, snakes have long been associated with rebirth, regeneration, and transformation. We can see that as the snake is an animal that sheds its skin. It could even be related to the Ouroboros, which is a symbol showing a snake eating its tail, representing repetition and reincarnation. Working through the path of ceremonial magic is one way to help us take the snake's tail out of the mouth, finally allowing us the awareness and ability to stop repeating cycles and finally have a change. They say that going back to something without learning from the mistakes is insanity. These systems contain secrets to gaining sanity from the chaos. Asclepius is also a figure that is associated with Ophiuchus. Asclepius was a god of medicine. He was a healer, and it's said that he learned how to avoid death by observing snakes. It's been said that he has the power to raise the dead. Raising the dead is a very powerful allegory in the occult, which means to awaken from the dead, to come out of your sleep, to be raised into a higher state of consciousness, a new awareness, a new opportunity, invitation, clarity, and awakening can happen to us very suddenly. This allows us to make change from experiencing life with a new lens, giving us the ability to finally do something different and have a chance at a new life. The bottom line here is that this constellation does hold very powerful significance as it pertains to the cycle of consciousness. I would like to view it as a hidden sign, a constellation, or maybe even a hidden piece of the puzzle, rather than viewing it as the 13th Zodiac sign, squeezing it into an already powerfully charged and well thought out practical system, which would disrupt everything, especially when the system is used for occult work, like ceremonial magic. Hopefully this video was helpful in providing background information on the sign and how it could be viewed at from an occult lens, or at least hearing my explanation and insight on the controversial idea of a 13th Zodiac sign. Now, I do have my courses listed in the description below, like the course on Qabalah and also a course on studying tarot with the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, which is something that most courses in tarot don't offer. There's also a link to where you can book a tarot reading with me. I'll also have the link to my Patreon if you're interested in some live streams. And I hope that there was something new that you were able to take away from this video. If so, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.